I keep a dependence ID tag in the left chest pocket of every uniform I wear. It is laminated plastic, cracked at one corner, the kind they issued to base families at Avralik. A child's name printed in block letters above a small photograph. A girl, 9 years old, dark eyes, her father's jaw. I found it on the tarmac the morning we pulled out. I have carried it for 14 years. I told myself it was penance. What I know now is that it was evidence. Let me tell you what happened at the gate. I was a corporal in the spring of that withdrawal, 22 years old. Third deployment, assigned to the last vehicle in the convoy. Rallick was a small firebase in a narrow river valley, and when the order came to vacate, we had 40 minutes. The base commander, Lieutenant Colonel Harwick, ran the evacuation himself from the lead vehicle. The order was explicit, personnel only, no dependents, no exceptions. The post had 12 local national family attachments, translators' wives, a few children who had grown up on the wire. The arrangement had always been informal, grandfathered in from an earlier era, and when the pullout came, those families were given 30 minutes to gather what they could and shelter in the village a kilometer south. The girl's name was Kale. Her father, a senior translator named Devon, had been killed in a mortar strike 4 months earlier. After that, she had no one. She lived in a small room behind the motor pool, fed by the cooks, known to everyone. When the convoy began to roll, she was standing at the gate with a canvas bag and her father's dog tags around her neck. She was 9 years old and she was asking to get in. Harwick's vehicle passed her without slowing. The next vehicle passed her. I was in the last truck. I watched her through the side glass as we rolled through the gate, and I did not stop the vehicle. I told myself I was following orders. I told myself someone else would handle it. I told myself the village was only a kilometer. She was still standing at the open gate when we turned onto the valley road. That is the last time I saw her for 14 years. The official record, filed that afternoon, listed her as a local national non-combatant, unaccounted for, presumed sheltered in the surrounding civilian population. 2 years later, a summary review of FOB Rallick personnel noted her as a dependent status minor outcome unknown, file closed. In plain language, they said she didn't make it. They said it quietly, without ceremony, and then they moved on. I did not move on. I made staff sergeant. I did 3 more deployments. I requested FOB Rallick assignments twice and was denied both times. The base had been re-established under a different command, a different mission set, a different name on the gate sign. I carried the ID tag. I told no one why. The morning it ended, I was running logistics at the re-established base, FOB Rallick in name again, same valley, same wire, different decade. 14 years had passed. I was 36, and Harwick, now a full colonel, had come through for a command review. He was exactly as I remembered, straight-backed, unhurried, the kind of officer who had always believed that good decisions made in motion were still good decisions. The gate call came in at 0614. A vehicle, single civilian pattern, no markings, had stopped 200 meters out on the valley road. The gate crew reported 3 individuals in flex cuffs in the cargo bed, and one driver who had presented a military identification card that didn't match any active database entry. The gate sergeant had run it twice. The photograph matched. The name and rank did not correspond to any known record. He had called it up to me, and I had walked to the gate because I didn't know what else to do. She was standing beside the vehicle when I arrived. 23 years old, her father's jaw, the same dark eyes from the photograph on the ID tag in my pocket, except that these eyes were steady in a way that the 9-year-old's had not been. She was in non-standard field kit, no unit patches, no name-a-tape I could read at distance. And she was not looking at me. She was watching the eastern ridgeline with the flat, habitual attention of someone who had spent years deciding which silhouettes on high ground were dangerous. In the cargo bed, 3 men, flex-cuffed at the wrist and ankle, blindfolded, alive. I recognized one face from the intelligence packets that had been circulating for 11 months, a regional cell commander we had been hunting in the Eastern Valley since the previous winter. I said nothing for a moment. Then I said, "Who are you?" She turned and looked at me. She said one word, a call sign, Cold Seam. I had heard that name. Everyone at FOB Rallick had heard it in the last 18 months. It had come through on 2 separate signal intercepts. Once from an enemy commander's field communication describing a single shooter who had held the Dara Ridge approach for 14 hours and broken their eastern column, and once in a captured message that read simply, "Do not go into the northern draw when Cold Seam is working." We had never been able to attach the call sign to a face or a file. The signals unit had flagged it as a special reconnaissance asset, origin unknown, not assigned to any unit in theater that anyone would admit to. What the signal intercepts described, our intelligence officer had briefed to us 3 weeks earlier, A single operator had taken a concealed position on the Dara Ridge at last light and held it through the night and into the following afternoon, engaging an enemy column of roughly 60 personnel as they attempted to flank eastern approaches. The column broke and withdrew after 9 hours. It resumed twice. It was turned back twice. When it finally withdrew for good, 14 hours after the hold began, our forward team moved up and found 23 confirmed enemy dead along a 600-meter approach corridor. Each shot placed at range, each position selected and abandoned before the enemy could locate the shooter. No support. No extraction request. One operator, alone, in terrain the enemy had believed was unwatched. Our intelligence officer had said very quietly, at the end of that briefing, whoever Cold Seam is, they saved this valley. I looked at the 3 men in the cargo bed. I looked at her. I said, "Do you want to come inside?" she said. "I want to see the base commander." I called it up to Harwick on the radio. He came to the gate himself, still in his morning briefing uniform. And when he walked through the outer gate and saw her, he stopped. He had not been at Fob Rallick during the original withdrawal. He had commanded a different firebase then, lower in the valley, but he had signed the summary review 2 years later, the one that had closed her file. I knew that because I had pulled every document I could find. She looked at him the way she had looked at the ridgeline, without anger, without urgency, the way you look at a fixed landmark you have been navigating around for a long time. He said, "You're Cold Seam." She said, "Yes, sir." He said, "The Dara Ridge hold, that was you." She said, "Yes, sir, 14 hours, 23 confirmed." The eastern column broke at H+9. The rest is in the report I filed. She reached into her kit and placed a folded document on the hood of the gate vehicle. The 3 in the truck are listed at the top. The regional commander is the one on the right. Harwick picked up the document. He read the first page. I watched his face go through several things: recognition, recalculation, and something that I can only describe as the expression of a man who has been handed a bill he knew was coming and had hoped to avoid. He turned to the second page, then the third. When he set it down, his hands were deliberate and careful, the way hands are when a man is working very hard to control what they do next. He looked at her for a long moment. Then he stepped back from the vehicle. He came to attention. He rendered a full formal salute, right hand, proper angle, held, and he said, "Thank you for your service." She returned it. 4 counts, clean. I did not plan what I did next. I came to attention beside the gate post, and I surrendered a salute as well, and I held it. Behind me, I heard the gate crew come to attention, one at a time, without an order. The 2 guards on the outer post came to attention. A mechanic who had come out to look at the vehicle came to attention. 7 of us, in a loose arc around the gate of a small firebase in a narrow river valley, saluting a 23-year-old woman who had been left on this same tarmac with a canvas bag and her dead father's dog tags. She returned the salutes collectively, one slow turn, and then she walked through the gate into the base. She was there for 4 hours. She handed over the prisoners, completed whatever handoff she had come to complete, and then she walked back to the gate and drove out in the civilian vehicle, headed south. She did not stop to eat. She did not look for the room behind the motor pool. She did not look for me. I walked back to the gate after she was gone, and I stood there for a while. I took the ID tag out of my pocket. I looked at the photograph, the 9-year-old with her father's jaw and the dark eyes, and then I looked down the valley road where the dust from her vehicle was still settling. I don't know what she did in the years between the morning we left her at the gate and the morning she came back, through it. I know what the captured signal said. I know what the document on the hood said. 23 confirmed. 14 hours on a ridge that the enemy had believed was undefended. A regional commander in a cargo bed, alive, delivered to the exact gate where she had been left. She could have gone anywhere with what she had become. She came here. I put the ID tag back in my pocket. I keep it there still, not as penance anymore, as a record of what a 9-year-old girl decided to do with what a convoy of adults left behind, and what she built from it, alone, on the outside of a wire that should have let her through. The valley was quiet. The dust had settled. The gate was open.